All right, let's try this. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can I hear myself? Can I see myself? Who knows? I guess we'll find out in a second. Here we go. Yeah, I can hear myself. Perfect. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing on this Wednesday? I guess Wednesday, the 12th of March. Hey, Jin, how are you doing? I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this morning, but then I realized that I'd better. Getting back to normalcy is what counts for normal for me is certainly something I should do. So that's what we're trying to do today. I still somewhat getting over my last week's adventure of my trip to Athens, but I'm sure I'm sure I will. But it definitely means that I have like a pile of messages and stuff to get through because all of that. That's what we'll do during the first sprint and possibly during the second as well. I have no idea how much it is. To be fair, I don't think there's much damage to my eye. It's literally just that I may have scratched it during that. It may have just bled down again, but it's this area. It's dumb though, unnecessary. But what can you do? But that's one of the things that was really, really, really helpful, or not. But so lots of stuff to do there. Catch up on the news. I'm sure nothing happened. I did upload. Well, I mean, I did actually get my new video out yesterday. That was like the one thing I did. I came back home from the trip. I started at like 5:30 local time in Athens, which is 4:30 time in Germany in the morning, and then I was here at I don't know 2 p.m. and then I had a screening of a documentary with a roundtable thing afterwards at like 3 p.m. So that was from 3 to 5. So after that, I recorded the video. So there wasn't much actually sort of relaxing happening yesterday either. So that's certainly a goal for today. So I'm probably going to skip the gym for like one more day. But yeah, it's very unnecessary, and it happened twice in one day, and it was really stupid. Like twice in the same spot as well. But I don't know what that said, but certainly, I mean, the dumb part is it's not that big of a deal, but if you get like hit here on the eyebrow, right, it bleeds immediately and it bleeds massively. It's your typical like boxer kind of face injury kind of situation. But that's I guess that is the price for paying you pay for doing business these days. No. Yeah, and I need to figure out what to read next or which book to pick. I know that the Buffalo Hunter has come out, I think, by what's his face, Stephen Graham Jones, and I found it at least interesting. I like from the title description, so maybe I'll just read that. As you know, I haven't read any Stephen Graham Jones. I know there's this one fantasy story that Ori always tells me to read, but I haven't yet. So yeah, we'll see. But that's roughly the plan. reply to YouTube comments on the last couple of videos, go through emails, go through messages, do all of that stuff, figure out what else needs doing. But how are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, I assume either working or being at home and relaxing, depending on the time zone. And yeah, beyond the usual like a dumb face accident, the Athens trip was definitely fun. Again, it's it's a city I really enjoy. It's a music festival I really enjoy. It's lots of people I know and really like, hanging out with them. All of the good stuff. Excellent food if you're into Greek food. There's always lots of good stuff to eat there. So nice place to be. So I'm not sorry I went, but it's always also a bit stressful to do all of that. Meet everyone, get to the venues in time, get out of the venues much later than you planned to, then still go to some bars, sleep like 3 hours, repeat. Find out that your flight has been canceled because there's a strike on the airport, figure out what to do next. Oh, right. You did the daylight savings change. I think Europe probably does it like next week or the week after. We're usually like 1 or 2 weeks after the US in that one. I have no further opinions on the daylight. I think it is. I, I know some people like struggle with it. I don't really. And what would like everyone using smartphones and computers and everything that automatically sort of like do change all of those kind of clocks. It is much less of a bother because it does not mean that I accidentally forget to switch my alarm and then suddenly I wake up an hour too early or an hour too late, depending on whether we're talking about the switch to daylight savings or back again. So it doesn't necessarily impact me in any meaningful way at this point, I think. So I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily like it, but what can you do? Yeah, I feel like probably like stopping doing the daylight savings thing is a good idea. I mean, I know the EU was like talking about it. I just don't know what happened with that plan because I didn't pay attention. But there were talks of like actually abandoning daylight savings because why bother? Maybe that's something I should find out at some point, in case I'm missing something massively. I don't know. So that's very very late or very early for you. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I'll read the Buffalo Hunter, which seems to be historical horror. Um, but I haven't, I've never read any Stephen Graham Jones, so maybe it's not the best place to start. Who knows? You can tell that I'm still somewhat at loose ends here when it comes to making any clearer plans, having any opinions on anything. I mean, you can always just frame it as transitioning from daylight savings to non-daylight savings, and then he will find it as call it trans, and then he'll ban it immediately. So maybe that's a strategy. You should probably try to get to him through posting it on Twitter, so Elon sees it first. Though I think that's the strategy you go with by now. You call it a transition, and make sure that Elon hears, because if Elon hears, then at some point Fox News hears, and then at some point Trump hears, and then problem solved. I I don't know what I think about the fact that there are very, very clearly proven ways to get your get your government to do something really dumb that are theoretically open to everyone. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for like getting the government to do anything reasonable, but at least you can, at least you can, make the government do dumb shit. It's yeah. So yeah, I haven't checked where the tariff situation is this morning. So we'll see what happened there in a bit, I guess, once I open some news website and learn more about it. Hey, Apollo. Good morning. How are you? So that's that. Yeah. So I have to find out. Like I know that Amal Al Motar did share my video on the River Has Roots, and so I assume it got some views. But I certainly got like a bunch of messages and notifications on different like social media and stuff, and I'm gonna finally go through that during sprints to learn what happens. If I need to reply to anything, which probably. I mean, obviously to comments, but the last thing I've seen was that Ukraine is getting at least some military help from the US again, but you know, this stuff is certainly moving fast and possibly breaking things. Nah. Yeah, but interesting. Like the movie thing screening I watched yesterday was a documentary on the war on education in Ukraine, which is like one of those things that don't necessarily get much attention in like mainstream media. But of course, you have a country that has all these things like schools and kindergartens and all of that, and you suddenly have a full scale war going on. That will impact how you can or cannot do education. You have like people leaving the country temporarily. You have people under occupation in some parts. And how does that basically change? And how does that impact teachers, education staff, and of course children? Let's just say it was not exactly a fun watch. But yeah, that's what I watched yesterday. Highly recommend if you can find it somewhere to watch The War on Education. So yeah, so let's start the first sprint and figure out what happened and what happens and so forth during that sprint. Fuck. And I am back. What a surprise. How are you guys doing? And thanks. And hello, Kadia. No, the face doesn't really hurt much. It just looks bad. And I know it looks even worse this morning because I think during the night at some point I scratched it. And I did try to wash my face before coming on stream, but clearly it didn't work too well. So yeah, no, it doesn't hurt much. It's just, yeah, it's like you run into something, especially with your eyebrow, the skin splits super quickly, and there's like a bunch of like super, a bunch of veins or obviously not arteries, like, but a bunch of veins right under the skin that make you bleed immediately, massively. There's a picture we took right afterwards. It was so stupid. It was like maybe 200 meters away from the hotel on my way back after the last concert, and we took a picture, and it that looks really brutal because it's just like half of my face all covered covered in blood. It's something I cherish, but I don't necessarily feel like sharing too much of, because yeah, maybe I shouldn't. But yeah, if I ever make like a black metal or death metal record, I know what kind of picture to use for like either the artist picture or you know, yeah, which is just a bad idea. Although I have a really cool sort of like post-punk record by the Murder City Devils, which has this wonderful artwork. I need to look up the title of the album. I think it's called Something Something in Blood. It's like if you like weird post-punky music that also has a Hammond organ in it, and it's very fucked up. It's really cool. Um, and they did like the same thing that I think like later books also did. Artists did. I think Amanda Palmer even did it later as well. But I think they were some of the earliest to have in each band picture basically like a murder scene picture where each of them has been murdered in like a different way. Which yeah. So should I go into post punk then? That is also an option. I did, in fact, go through, I think, all of the YouTube comments that were still open. And I did I did upload the Once Was Villain video because I decided that me going back and re-recording it is maybe not the best thing to do. On the other hand, now that I'm all covered in blood, that is kind of fitting to to that specific book. But yeah, so I've uploaded it. I just need to come up with a title and put the thumbnail in. Those are the things I can't necessarily easily do. I mean, obviously, putting the title in I can do. I just couldn't think of one this at the moment. But for YouTube accessibility reasons, putting up the thumbnail is weirdly difficult unless I do it on my phone. So quick quick info about my process is like I upload on my computer because it's much faster and everything, and put out all the details in except for the thumbnail, and then I wait on my phone until I get the message that it has been checked for ad eligibility and whether it's dangerous to children and all of that stuff, which happens after the upload, and then I put in the thumbnail, and then I press publish on my phone, and yeah, then I usually go back to my computer and share the link in places, because that is once again much easier if you have like a full keyboard and everything and are not running stuff from your phone. It's annoying and frustrating. Yes, I have finished Once Was Wilm. I did finish it last Tuesday, and then I recorded the video at like 4, like 5:30 ish in the morning before jumping on the plane, on the train to the plane to Greece. And then I rendered the thing during like the first couple of days while I was still in Athens, and then I just was so occupied with doing heavy metal things that I completely forgot to upload the thing. It could have been out last week, but me being who I am, it's not. How are you liking the How are you liking Once Was Willem so far? I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Just the potato bit just really fucked me up. The potatoes, man, why? Because there is a scene in chapter 2 of Once Was Willem where the some bandits or, well, people working for the local lord, and this is supposedly 12th century England, a very, very unrealistic 12th century England, go down to the local village to collect the tithes or collect just more stuff from the peasants, as you do, and they are asking for beans and potatoes. And I'm pretty sure that, well, I did actually look it up, but potatoes were introduced to England in the year 1580 something, which makes sense. But what, why put that specific detail in? Because I thought everyone knows that potatoes are a plant that grew in America first, and so you only get that stuff in Europe in post 1492, because unless Vikings started farming potatoes all the way back in, I don't know, the 11th century, but we don't have any documents for that. But it is what it is. Beyond that, I thought Once Was Willem was a really fun book. It did remind me a bit of Gene Wolfe's approach to writing fantasy, or generally with the first-person narrator that jumps around in time and goes, yeah, well, now I have to go back to this other thing that I forgot to tell you, and now I jump forward again. That is a very, very Gene Wolfe-ish approach to writing stuff, as is the rather pseudo-medieval prose. But beyond that, it's it's a fun book. I enjoyed it. But yeah, not much else to say about it so far. But the video is uploaded, so I can probably just publish it later today. And I still haven't, my face covered in blood on that one, which, maybe a benefit. Yeah. I think so I'm caught up on most messages on, most social media. I'm caught up on the YouTube comments. I'm caught up on Blue Sky stuff. I'm caught up on Discord. I guess the only thing that is left is actually going through my emails, and I think there is not too much stuff to be done there. Look, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. The book is obviously fantasy, historical fantasy. It just felt so weird. It's like, why would you do that? And I only mentioned twice in the entire book. So don't get me wrong, it's not a big deal. It just kind of stuck out, and it's more like, I guess, one of those interesting sort of bits where whatever kind of immersion you have suddenly breaks for me as the reader in particular, because this specific thing kind of sticks out to me, and others just completely ignore it because it doesn't matter, right? It's the same thing in I think it's Dust of Dreams. Yeah, it's in Dust of Dreams. One of the characters talks about Quick Ben, a character in the Malazan world, and wonders if his nickname is Quick because he is so quixotic. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense unless people in the Malazan world are actually reading Don Quixote, which, I mean, good for them because it's a great book, but that is, and I'm pretty sure 99% of all readers just go through that, well, who cares? On the other hand, I read a fantasy book and someone talks about someone else's Achilles heel, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm fine with that, which is ridiculous because the that implies the existence of an Achilles heel implies the existence of the Trojan War and at least the Iliad in your fantasy world, which is just the same thing, but I think it's more sort of the idiosyncrasies that we have as readers, where something just jumps out. But then again, God, yeah, I guess it would have been like much harder if the for you if they had asked for the potatoes to make French fries. Then you would have cared. No, no, but beyond that, I think it's a very fast-paced, just like really entertaining and fun story. It does have some depth in there. Don't get me wrong, it certainly does. But that's something I mentioned in the video. It does remind me a lot of Clark Ashton Smith's Averroin stories in particular. Like for those of you who have never read Clark Ashton Smith, which you know sadly, as most people these days, Clark Ashton Smith, one of those pulp authors, together with Robert D. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft and so forth. A very weird one though, and he had like a series of stories that are all set in a fictional French province called Averroin, which is full of forest, and also full of necromancers, wizards, gargoyles, monsters, and so forth. Werewolves, of course. And it has like one story. I think it's called the Colossus of Averroin, where a wizard is starting to build this almost Frankensteinian monstrosity out of different dead bodies and stuff. And then it does have that vibe in a lot of ways. And I think I obviously I can't prove that M.R. Carey has read Clark Ashton Smith, but as someone like me who does like Clark Ashton Smith, who also has like a very archaic prose style from time to time, like really weird words and shit like that, it did have that that sort of vibe for me, which is a good thing because I like Clark Ashton Smith. I think more people should actually read Clark Ashton Smith. So yeah, no, it was fine. I already said like earlier, I'm thinking about maybe reading the Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which came out either last week or came out yesterday, possibly. I know it was like early March, and that might be an interesting one as well. Also, I haven't read any Stephen Graham Jones yet, so I might discover a new favorite author, or maybe not. So yeah, let's slowly drift into the second sprint where I will go through my emails, which will probably make me mad because I'm subscribed to a bunch of like different Substack and other newsletter writers, which are doing political journalism and stuff like that, and getting your latest update on how bad politics in the US is and how bad the internet has become is I still have to actually get to Ida's book at some point. I just haven't yet because ebooks and stuff like that. But you know, um, and that I think is the interesting part, Kadia. Right? It is. It's not medieval. It's very inaccurate for like how I, as someone who has certainly read a lot of like history books on the Middle Ages and taken a bunch of courses at university about specific aspects of medieval history and so forth. This is not an accurate depiction of the Middle Ages. It is, however, a very, very accurate sort of depiction of how we are told the Middle Ages look. It's that term medievalism that Umberto Eco so often picks out, right? Where we realize that our image of the Middle Ages is very different from what, or like our media and cultural image of the Middle Ages is very different from whatever academia is currently able to say and think about the specific period. And it has, it's been first romanticized in your classic 19th century romanticism way, and then it has been, all colored up in like the 1950s and 60s, and then like from the 80s onwards, we certainly have decided that the Middle Ages were in fact, the Dark Ages, and everything is brown and gray, and there's no color, and everyone is dirty all the time, and that is not true. We know that is not true, but it is sort of like the image. And I think in that regard, Once Was Willem is just a masterclass in how to use that, and by adding, the supernatural stuff making clear that you're not in fact trying to write your accurate medieval depiction. I mean, for that you can always go to something like Hild and Meanwood by Nicola Griffith, which are much better depictions of like much more historically accurate for a given value of historical accuracy as depictions of the Middle Ages. But sometimes it's fun to go into the. This is much closer to like Army of Darkness than anything else, really. Although no one has a chainsaw. Oh yeah, now the news is exhausting. It's more like I didn't spend too much time reading the news while being in Athens, which is one of those Athens things. So I feel sort of obliged to at least skim headlines and stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I also and this is something where I need to actually figure out what to do with my life. As so often on Sunday, while still in Athens, a friend of mine convinced me to buy a ticket for another heavy metal festival that another friend of his was selling because he can't make it on this weekend. So Friday and Saturday in the wonderful town of Písek in Bohemia, where I was before, and just good bands playing. And I was maybe somewhat over enthusiastic because right now I don't feel like going there, but I might. So I might have to figure out either if I can, make it fit it in my rather tight budget, or if I can find another way to resell that ticket yet again and not go. But that's something I need to figure out today because otherwise, yeah, I'll have to go to wonderful Písek and watch Pagan Altar and Medieval Steel, which obviously would be really cool. Don't get me wrong, but it's it's a money thing and certainly also like a health thing. Fun fact: the person that sold me that ticket, shortly after selling me that ticket, was the person leading me back home from the show to the hotel when I ran into the into the lamppost who got my face all broken. So it is what it is. So that's a goal for the next sprints, and yeah, good luck with whatever you are doing. I assume it's work, at least for some of you, and yeah, let's see. And I am back. I did get some more stuff done, which is good, right? I did, well, also make new tea, which was important. And I read some emails, and now I know that the now leaving FBI director invested in a lot of American stocks, despite, officially constantly talking about, the threats to the United States. So, not necessarily important, but good to know how, these things kind of work. Also, had some more conversations about maybe an upcoming live stream stuff. So that's roughly where I am. I guess I have like one newsletter left to read that I had to pick, from like last week, and then I'm all set with these things and can return to looking forward. Hello, Chantel. Yeah, I did. I did run into a lamppost in Athens. I mean, it is also Athens, and there's a lot of like militarized cops with the shields and truncheons and everything standing around everywhere. But in this case, it was a lamppost that attacked me. It mostly looks bad. It doesn't hurt much. So I just have to wait for swelling to go down, cut to close, and until then, I'll just look even more like a B-movie Viking, I guess. So yeah, that's where I am right now. So yeah, I've caught up on most of the news stuff. I have to do some more like other messages and personal stuff because obviously other things I'm involved in that are not even booktube related also happened while I was gone, because clearly the world does not take a break just because I decide to get drunk in Athens, which clearly the world is wrong there, but what can you do? But yeah, that's what I did during the last sprint. I will probably, uh, do stuff after this sprint now is over, and will, I have to unpack my stuff from Athens from yesterday. I have to uh, further clean up this room where stuff has been piling up again. Maybe find a way to do laundry later. By which I mean hope that my flatmate's clothes are dry so I can reuse the space to hang mine up to dry. But we'll see. Yeah, that is that is certainly something that could work, Chantel. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I get about like one very visible cut somewhere in my face per year, roughly, because running into things is just a danger of being blind, where you know sometimes you're faster than you should be. Sometimes it's just the whole thing of like using a stick is right that you put it to like one side and then to the other and then to the other, and that gives you a minimal chance to just miss something. And yeah, that's when you are slightly too fast and then you hit it with your face. Yeah, but it's not too bad. It just looks bad. So yeah, you know, further arrive here and get up to speed, and then maybe make the next step forward and figure out how to go to Bohemia on Friday morning, I guess. Which something I want to do, because Pagan Altar, and it's one of those bands where you never know how many times you will see them still, because not exactly a young band, and a very magical one indeed. So yeah, that's your free music tip for the day, Pagan Altar. Medieval Steel, the other headliner, not so much. I mean, that one song, yes. The rest is solid, but doesn't, rage me as much as the sort of like folky doom stuff that the Pagan Altar are doing. Yeah, now that sounds real bad, Chantel, and I can imagine that that leads to some very interesting injuries as well. Yeah. So yeah, since I did not actually eat anything before starting the sprints this morning because I was somewhat late in waking up. I will probably also have some breakfast, or at least some food, and we'll see how that goes. And then see what else I can do. Come up with a title for the Once Was Willem video, I assume, which I could then publish today. And then I have done something for the productivity, meters and all of that. So yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. I'll go and do stuff. I'll definitely be back tomorrow morning. I think that one can be seen as a guaranteed, and then we'll see how the rest of the week kind of works out. So thanks for hanging out. It's been nice. It's been nice to be back and sort of at least restart the sort of like daily routine in some way. I'm not going to the gym today because I think I have enough other stuff that I still need to do today. But maybe tomorrow I'll go back and do at least some running before fully getting back into things. So yeah, see you tomorrow.